Right, mainly just making sure that this is live because I need to test this more. Make sure that the audio is going to be fine. Okay, cool. Oh, it's working. So I mentioned this a bit in the Discord, and I doubt anybody's really going to be here for this stream. But I want to talk about the Counter-Strike match tomorrow. I recently went out and I just came back and I was like, oh, I'm like actually dressed decently. I'll just be live for a bit because I'm not dressed like a bum before bed or anything. This is a very interesting stream. If you're in the Discord, you've already heard me talk about it. If not, let me try and summarize everything we're dealing with. Let me go ahead and share the screen or add a screen. Let me do window. What is this? Maybe this one here. Let me just make sure I can open. Okay, cool. So this is the slate that we're looking at here. And there's a lot of things going on in this game that is noteworthy in my opinion. And that is these teams are very, very similar. I understand that FaZe is the favorite. I understand that Ince is the favorite. But these games can go really any way. And I typically like building 3-3 content or lineups, and I don't think that's really going to be viable today with how the G2 and FaZe game is going to unfold. We'll look, at least I'll be kind of going through and looking at the players and stuff as I kind of just talk my way through this. Yeah, what's going up, Jolly? I was hoping more people in the Discord would be here. But either way, Jolly, if you want me to look at anything or talk about anything specific, feel free. I'm just here to kind of just chill and talk about this slate tonight. So when we go ahead and look at these, not that one, it is this one and this one. As I said, I kind of already went over this in the Discord, but we'll just kind of start from scratch here as if that never existed. So these two teams are playing in drastically different ways. And so FaZe is probably, in my opinion, the best all-around team right now in Counter-Strike. All of these players can go off at any given time. Any of them can be the best scorer. We all know where Rain kind of falls into. It's rare that he does that, but he is an MVP of a major before. We've seen him go off specifically against Simple and Navi about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And so like Rain can do anything like anytime, and he's usually like the fourth best player. But Frozen, Brokey, and Ropes are all pretty much on a similar path. Even when you look here, the last 3 months, they're all very similar, and specifically between Frozen and Ropes, but any of them can go off at any time. Kerrigan is viable if we're going to be stacking, if we're choosing to stack FaZe. However, there's a good likelihood that he scores poorly, especially in a game that might end up being closer than most people realize here. When we look at G2, Hooksy is just not in the player pool. He's just not in there. We can also look at this, and I don't like doing this because, like, we'll use this example here. So, like, because there wasn't a slate the other day for the play-ins, or at least this specific game here, this doesn't show up in the game feed. But when you look at how G2 had to get through this and get through Heroic, you see that Monacy, it's not this game, it was the one before. It was against Monty. You'll see that which am I looking for? Let's open up all of these. It may have been against Ince. I don't necessarily remember. Monacy dropped like 85 kills. Like he literally carried the team on his back. Where are we at? That's 33. This one I just looked at. It's not this one. It might be Ince. Not this one. Was the first Heroic one. Yeah, it's this one here. Like, this is a great example of how this game tomorrow might go even if G2 loses. It's literally Monacy plus nearly 50 kills, which is absolutely insane. And the rest of the team was absolutely atrocious. This won't show up in the DraftKings feed because it wasn't on the slate, so it's not here. Otherwise, he'd score like 135 points or whatever. But when we look at how he scores versus how Hooksy scores, like this is just to show you like how bad Hooksy is, and he's expensive at 5.2. 5.2 for somebody who performs like this. 40. We need 50s to be optimal. We need 50s to be optimal. And some of these are like even in wins, that's a 38 in a win. That's 40 in a win. 40 in a win. 34 in a win. 50. Like, hey, he went off against OG, but like in a win, low 43. And then we have a random 78 here. This is a win, a 42. You know, this is a best of 5. But like here's a win, 28. Like Hooksy is like one of the worst. And he's an IGL, like they need him, but he's literally probably the worst like Counter-Strike player I see in terms of like his actual impact on the game. And so when we're looking at G2, we're like crossing out Hooksy. Nexa is in a very similar boat. He's not going to have a sway in this game. He's literally just there, very similar. When we look at how he's performing, and I'm only doing this to inform you based on like DraftKings points of how these people end up scoring and stuff. And there are 4 of you guys here. I do appreciate it. I can't actually believe. I just expect to be talking to myself here. Like Nexa is literally in the same page. The only way that G2 wins this game, and I hate talking of like, well, there's a lot of ways that both teams can work here, but the highest likelihood is that regardless if G2 wins or loses, you're going to need Monacy in the flex. It comes into play of if G2 wins, which is a low likelihood, Monacy would probably be the best captain on the slate. This is reflected in the SaberSim projections, and we'll kind of bring those up as well because this is a great example of why I think projections need to be thrown out sometimes, and they're just not helpful, especially like an aggregated projection of multiple simulations or multiple games and stuff, and it comes into this. This was today, which I ended up playing people who didn't play, so that was nice. When we look at this one here, like I'm not going to use SaberSim to build my lines here, but it's Monacy as the clear favorite, as the best, highest projected guy, which is understandable. He's the best player on the slate, yada, yada, yada. And then literally everybody else is 53, 53, 52, 51, 49, 49, 48, 48, 46, 45, 45, 40. This doesn't help me at all, bro. Like, what's the point of projections if everybody's the same? Like, it's like when I do my NASCAR projections, I take stands. Like, I clearly project this guy to be better. Like, this is no help at all. Like, it's no help at all. But it reiterates that the fact that this is literally anybody's game, anybody's slate. And that's really the main reason why I'm doing this video, is because I think this might be fun to actually talk about, because I'm going to have to make stands when I decide what I want to do. You know, when we look at the slate, it's 1,100 people, 35 entries max. I don't really want to put $350 on this game. I really don't feel that way. I don't know if I can pinpoint who is going to be the best captain. That is going to decide who wins. Might not decide if you cash or not, but that'll decide who wins. I might do like 8 or 10 lines, but that's probably going to be it. But I do want to talk about this. I think it's an interesting game. When we look at the rest of G2, Nico and Hunter we'll just look at from the impact, or from this one here. From this one, let's X out of all these. When we look at these two, we're basically using, so all of FaZe is in the player pool, plus or minus Kerrigan. You would only use him as a value if you need him, and if you think FaZe is going to win this. And then it's literally only Monacy, Nico, and Hunter from G2. These 3 individuals, 3 of them only work if G2 wins. Monacy and Nico can be the one-offs if this game ends up staying close in the best of 3, whereas FaZe wins one game, G2 wins another game. Both games are tied, or both games are scored similarly, like a 13-11, 13-12. You know, they go into OT or whatever. Those are situations to where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 viable players. Like Hunter is here. We're seeing that Hunter has a poor impact and poor in the last 3 months, but like G2 has also been just playing like dog shit. But when we look at how Hunter actually scores, we see that Hunter has a big impact in determining how these guys do, even in losses. When we look specifically at wins, hey, he had a bad game here and a win, he scores 40, but he'll have like the big games. Like if G2 wins this match, we're going to have realistic situations where he can score 80, where he can score 87. Now, some of this is back in CSGO, like all this is way back in CSGO, but there is a real case that he can score in the 50s, even in a loss in this situation, any 6,800. So that's what G2, and I guess we'll talk about like potential captains or whatever, like once I get through the second game. So the second game is between Ints and Falcons. Now, Falcons is the bookmarker favorite. When we look at Bovada real fast, let's do that. When we look at Bovada, let's see where these odds are falling, because I don't necessarily believe that. As somebody who's watched Falcons play, which I think an upset is very viable. So like when we look at Bovada, it's a coin flip between these two teams, which it should be. And FaZe is the favorite versus FaZe. Now, granted, yet again, these are odds, so they're subject to change. You know, if we get more money coming on in one, like also people don't realize that as well. Like odds can change. It blew my brain the other day when somebody was like, "I can't believe this UFC fighter came in at this odds and then his odds moved." Well, that just means money went to that, and the sports book is having to hedge and move the line. Like that's how it works. What are we talking about? But we can see that this game is, I would say, Ents is the team that can win. They have better form, and I'm not just saying that because they're there, but Ents is just playing better. When we look at teams that actually won against, okay, yes, Falcons took down Vitality, which is insane. Or they lost to these two teams. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. They had lost to great teams, beat Rebels like a 2-1. That should have been a 2-0. Complexity also bad. Should be a 2-0. Navi. Like, I am not impressed by these wins at all. I'm just not. Whereas I look at Ints, they beat Astralis, they beat the Mongols, they beat Vitality, they beat G2, and they lost against Mouse. Like, these are how games should have gone here. These are expected wins, and these are all against tough competition. When you look at Falcons versus Ints, Ents is the better team, and I would look on them actually scored a 2-0 on Falcons today, because I just don't believe that Falcons is going to perform that well. We've seen Falcons lose to Eternal Fire, which that just shouldn't have happened, and we're seeing them lose games to teams that are below them. I think Falcons just doesn't win in this one here. And so when we look at that in terms of building, what's going on, Chan? If you want to also, I know you're busy and stuff. If you do play CS and stuff, feel free to hop in the restream. We can talk and goof around and stuff, and just so I'm not talking to myself here. But when I'm building lines, I'm gonna completely X out Falcons. I don't foresee a situation where I want to play them. When we look at these guys in terms of how they're priced as if they are the favorites. Like, I mean, we have a ladder of how these guys fall, but Falcons is on average more expensive, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I will most likely be playing a ton of Ents in this situation, expecting a 3 or a 2-0. So that probably means I'm either going to have 2 Ents players or 3 Ents players and a majority of my lines. When we look at how Ents, now we've done that, we can go ahead and look at, why do I have so many tabs showing the same thing, man? Let's focus on Ents first, because that is like the easy part of the slate. We can figure out kind of where these guys are playing. And Ents is the same situation as FaZe, to where any of these guys can be the highest scorer. Okay. When we look at how the breakdown comes here, we see the Opper, yes, he is consistently in the top 3, but in a slate like this, to where you're going to have most likely a guy from a losing team in the optimal, you're either going to build a 2-2-1-1 or a 3-2-1, whatever the case may be. That's very difficult to pin down the best player on the team, in order to put the captain on it. That's why Monacy is such an interesting play, and it's interesting that SaberSim still hasn't projected the best, because he can score the best, be on a losing team, and they don't advance. Like, I mean, this slate is wide open. But when we look at Ents here, okay, thank you, Chan. When we look at Ents here, and this is in a loss, so yet again, it's in a loss and stuff. And yet again, I'm not focused on like here. This is what I built. That's the wrong one. Here, like I put this together years ago when CS came out, and this is how I manually calculate stuff. I mean, I don't need to do it now, but like, let's drastically pay attention to how people are actually scored here. We'll just put 1 on everything, so we can all see, so we can pay attention. And rounds not played, we'll just put it on, like, we're not going to count rounds not played. And so we are specifically looking at people even in the captain specifically, we're looking for the people who get the most kills with the least amount of deaths, who have impact on the game, which is either like first kill, clutches, multi kills. All that is pretty much laid out in the impact rating on HLTV. So like unlike other sports like driver rating in NASCAR, that's useless. There's too many things diluting the number. QB rating can be a bit misleading, but impact rating is a good indication of actually how they score on fantasy points on HLTV, so we can trust that. So we want a person who can get enough kills to make up for the -1 whenever they die. I talked about this a bit in the Discord and stuff, and you can read more about what I talked earlier. But specifically, the things that stack up that aren't projectable is if they clutch, if they win a 1v2, they either like could just be a situation of where they kill the last, like it's just them on their team and they kill the last two guys on their team, or they win the round and they don't kill them, but they get the round victory. So that's either if you're T side, you plant the bomb, you hold off CT side long enough, and they just don't have time to defuse the bomb, and you can die to the bomb. But as long as you win the round, you get the point for a 1v2 clutch because you won it. Vice versa, if you are like CT, you can have a situation rarely like you can be the only CT guy left alive. There's two terrorists alive, and you go and ninja defuse, or you stick the defuse and you defuse the bomb, you win the round, and then you die, you still get the point for a 1v2 clutch because you won the round. So this 1v2 isn't necessarily you killed everybody as the last guy alive. It's just you won the rounds. Like you got to consider that too. You also got to consider quad kills. Like that'll happen on ecos, on random rounds. If you're an anchor on CT side, if you're holding, well, we don't play Dust 2 anymore professionally, but like I think everybody knows Dust 2. Like if you're holding long as like an opper on CT side and everybody just rushes you long and then you kill like 3 or 4 guys as the anchor on Dust 2, well, you just got a quad kill by really not doing anything other than just being in a situation where the team rushed you and you were the anchor on that team. Like I usually almost always project a quad, or at least when I used to, I would almost always project a quad kill for the top 2 players on each team, and I would try and project at least 3 quad kills in a best of 2 or a best of 3 situations, because like that's important. That 3 points is in addition to the 4. Like you get 3 points on top of the 6 points you get for killing 4 guys. So that in of itself is 9 points. That'll carry if you're like a value guy and the other team is ecoing. You could be the worst player on your team, but you get rushed by a bunch of pistols. You kill them. You get a quad. Well, that just gives you 9 points, like right there. Like that's all that is huge, and you can't project for that stuff. But I wanted to talk about how all this is broken down and stuff. This isn't even considering the rounds not played. Anyway, so I don't even remember what I was going to say. We're looking at ends here of how these guys are playing. We're actually at this point, we're going to try and determine who we don't want to use from ends, because I'm most likely using 2 or 3 of them in my lineups. So we need to figure out who isn't in the pool for ends. So right here we have Hades and Goofy. I'm assuming Goofy is going to be one of the guys who's out, but we need to figure out the second guy here. Goofy moved up. I mean, and you can see that everybody, like when they win, everybody score well. We're trying to determine one guy that we can lose here. Actually, Daicha is performing bad. I think Hades is the opper, but I'm not entirely sure. I gotta go check and make sure, because oddly enough, where are we? We're on this one. Falcons and Ents. Sun Pius used to be the prime opper for Ents. So I'm pretty sure it's got to be Hades, right? Who's the opper for Ents now? And HLTV is going to crash because I have so many tabs open here. Yeah, so Hades is the opper. And that role also, it has been it's been nerfed a little in CS2, Cleve. Looking like next out of that. Hades and Daicha. Hades. So, like, you can see what I mean by, like, we're looking at the last 4 games by them actually competing against decent teams. Daicha is the best consistent player on the team. He is an opper. He does not fit the role as somebody we want for captain because playing him really puts us at risk of not having the best scorer on the team and or the best scorer on the slate, and that is a real concern. And that's where we just lose a slate by having the wrong guy in the captain position. So let me make sure this stream is still going, which it is. And there's 5 of you guys here, so thank you for being here. So we figured out that Hades is probably going to be the most consistent, so we know that he'll be in the pool. Where am I at? Am I in the? I don't know where my. It's this one. I'm looking for this page. So we know he's making the cut for sure. I'm gonna probably rule out Goofy, and I might actually run things with everybody but Goofy on here. Probably lock in Hades for a flex position. That makes a lot of sense. Because then we don't have to worry about if he is the best scorer on the team or not. We just know he's going to probably be a top 3. I'm expecting Ents to beat Falcons, so he'll probably end up scoring like decently fine unless they lose or whatever. Like Clave's been underperforming recently, but he's technically the 3rd best player. I think the only guys we can exclude from this is actually Goofy. So I'm mentally doing this, but in my head, let's talk about where these guys are. Let's set these guys up by teams and not even look at the position. So we're not using Falcons players, which, I mean, I could be wrong here. Like Snappy used to be on Ents. Some Pius used to be on Ents. They have clear, not inside information, but they're very familiar with the playbook that Ents has. I'm going to take out Goofy. But so far, we have these 4 players that are willing to use. We understand they're not going to be using Hooksy because he's just bad. Kerrigan we're going to leave Kerrigan. Like, look, Kerrigan has, like, projected for 33 points. We'll look at the same thing that Kerrigan is doing compared to Hooksy, which Kerrigan is one of the oldest players in Counter-Strike. Like, he's been around since forever, okay? He played, like, all 10 years in CSGO. Pretty sure he played 1.6. He's going into CS. Like, this is one of the longest career. This guy is an all-time great player. When we look at how he wins and look specifically how he performs and wins here. So win 30 points, win 44. Loss, he in a loss, he's the best player on FaZe. Horrible in a win, great in a loss. This man is like, there's no consistency whatsoever. Win. Here's a win. Here's a win. Here's a win. Like, we need Kerrigan at 54 to at least, and look at his pricing too. It all depends on what the slate is, but he's almost always 54. We need Kerrigan minimally. We need him to be in the 40s. I'm not sure we can really count on that. So he'll be a direct value play. Like if we're in the 5K range specifically, right? And it's between Hooksy, what's going on here? We're looking at we're not playing Goofy. It's Snappy. And I'd honestly maybe want to play Daicha. Maybe he'll be the pivot, whatever. I might run things to see where at least Sabersim spits out ownership. But like this is like the one-off of like, let's get different. Let's hope he does something. Like I have chalk build. I'm going to play Kerrigan over somebody else. Like that's literally what Kerrigan falls into. Okay, so we figured that out. We figured that we don't want to use somebody from Ents in the captain. So moving forward, looking at FaZe and G2, we already know where Monacy fits in. That is, if we believe G2 will win, which if I do 8 lineups or 10 lineups, I would probably do 4 with Monacy in there. The main reason I'm kind of hesitant on Monacy is because we all know that he's projecting out as the best play, right? This slate is priced very soft. There's nobody in the 9K range. There's nobody in the 10K range. This is a very, very soft, not soft, but it's very open. We can play anybody. Normally I would lock in Monacy as my captain when I just build all my lines. This is where I have to consider ownership, and I have to consider the state that G2 is in, the fact that they can lose, and the fact that I think Monacy is a better flex play in this case. That means I'm going to have to look at phase. Let's see, if I do 10 lineups, I'll do 4. I will do 4 with Mondesi in situations where G2 wins. I'll lock him in flex in the other ones. But I need to try and figure out who I want to use from phase in the captain position. What builds work for me? So let's just focus primarily on phase here. So, and this is why I like Counter-Strike. It takes a lot, especially in games like this. Like, the projections are useless. Like, you have to actually pinpoint what we want to do here. So let's go ahead and look at the recent play of these individuals. And they recently picked up Frozen from because Twists went back to Team Liquid. So I don't know if Twist was with Liquid here. I guess we'll see. Twist. Okay, so we have quite a lot of data to work with of how these guys are performing since Twist left the game. Because I'm pretty sure the World Final and Blast was the last time Twist was with them, but I'm not sure. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so Frozen is the primary, and we'll kind of break these down. So Frozen, if I'm not mistaken, is the Opper, which is usually good, but with phase can be a detriment because, yet again, Oppers perform great on CT sides, okay? But as an entry team, especially on T side, phase is really good and don't necessarily need to lean on the Opper when they're entering. And so that hinders what Frozen can do here. Let's make sure that he's actually not. He's not the Opper. It's Brokey. I'm an idiot. It's Brokey. I thought so. Brokey took over the op. Interesting. I've been really paying that close attention to. Yeah, so like Brokey's the primary Opper, but you can see how drastically different his impact and his skills are compared to how Frozen is in CS2 being a rifler, which in CSGO was the other way around. And riflers are actually staying out more in CS2 than elsewhere. So let's close out of these. So like Frozen in that's a loss. So Frozen, Kerrigan went off. Like, Kerrigan's just insane, dude. This guy is like 80 years old. I love him, man. So Opper, Rain, we can see that they just kind of all run around each other, man. Frozen, Ropes. Like, this isn't helping literally a damn thing. It's just, this is going to be such a hard slate to build for, man. Because, like, this is a perfect situation of, like, yeah, clearly, like, 2-0, Frozen makes a lot of sense. Let's find one where it was, like, a loss. Let's find a 2-1. 2-1 Frozen. Like, Jesus Christ, man. And if I'm not mistaken, well, I missed it here. At this point, I've stopped looking at where they're falling in line at. I'm looking directly at the kill difference between the kill and death. Because that's not helping anything either, man. So yet again, this is like why Mondesi makes so much sense as the captain, because he has clear, defined ways and roles and situations where he is the best scorer on the slate. Like, we'll look at G2 again. Maybe I do just go with Mondesi and say, fuck it. If G2 loses, I just lose my money. We could just roll with that. We're already doing that with everything else. So like Mondesi is the most consistent guy on this team. We'll have Nico show up and Hunter show up, but like for the most part, this trend has ran through Mondesi. That was a situation where Nico was there, but Nico again, Mondesi very well, or very similar productivity, highest impact, highest kills. So that means he's probably getting a lot of assists even in situations where he doesn't have the most kills. Let's see, most assists. Mondesi, that's when he went off. Bad game, low kills, but still positive. Nico and Hunter go off. And we're at the end of the G2 games. Man, I'm pretty sure you can play anybody here. So let's just see. This is me building a line. I just want to see what we're messing. Yeah, we're at 72. That's crazy. We're normally at like 62, 65 after you put your captain in, because the captain's usually like 14, 15,000. He's 12.6 here. So like anybody works, man. Man. Jeez Louise. So at this point, I've done all I can. Now I go to Twitter. So let's find people who, let's see where the lines are. So let's see what's his name. I just went blank. What is his name? There's a guy who posts prize picks projections and stuff. So let me find. It's Anthony. It's Link DFS. Now I'd bring Twitter up on the screen, but I have no idea what's going to pop up, so I cannot do that. But let's X out of all these stuff and see if he posted his stuff for today. And he did. So I can put this here and show that like I do use Anthony as like somebody I look at, because now I don't do prop stuff, but I like to just have another line of reference here. So when we look at what he has here, this will be another deciding factor. So I've already done my own stuff, and I'm like, I'd like to bring in more information. Let's see what we got here, right? So we're wanting to look at, and I don't even know what I don't know how they do it necessarily. So this is Vivid Picks, actually. This is not Price Picks. I need to bring up his other thing, because I was like, I need 2 game stuff, not one thing. So hold on. Let's try it again. If he even posted anything, because he may not have, to be honest with you, because I know he's putting more and more stuff behind the paywall, or this is a little early. That might be all we have to work with here, which is not very helpful. Vivid Picks. What the fuck is this? This is for like game 1, dude. So that's not very helpful at all, because these props are for, I'm pretty sure they're for one map, because normally, well, oh man, does Prize Picks have a board up for this? I just want to see where the props are coming in at, man. Let me see the board. Jesus Christ, man. I hate Prize Picks so fucking much. This is the most useful. I also hate it because I'm just terrible at props. Like, I'm not even logged in. My account's empty. They've fucking not stolen from me. I've donated so much shit to them. It's not even funny. So let's see. They don't even have it up. Oh my lord. Oh boy, that's not helpful. Let's go back to this. Fuck it. We use one map. I don't give a fuck. I just need something else. So let's see where it leans. Map 1, rope 16, frozen 16, brokey 15, ants even, Falcons even, G2. Yeah, it's Monacy at 17.5 for map 1. Boy. Yeah, ants has to be flex plays. And just looking at his projected kills, I guess it would be ropes on his stuff as the best scorer for FaZe. Okay, well, man, FaZe is just so unpredictable. So I think what I'm going to do, now that I've been here, was able to talk it through. Let me see if you guys are still talking or asking any questions. If not, that's perfectly fine. I think I'm going to play Monacy in the captain. I think I'm going to switch. I think I'm going to put him in 6 out of my 10 lines. I'd like to have Frozen and look through it one more time. Because I really like Frozen as a captain play. Offers similar upside. And I feel like I want to have another phase guy instead. So Frozen, right? Like, see, I don't necessarily agree with Ropes being the most expensive guy on phase here. I think it's Frozen and Loki, who should be there, man. I think actually no, I'm not going to use a secondary guy from phase. I think my captain plays that I'm going to roll with is Monacy and Frozen. And that's really all the insight I have. Like, I think I'm going to need at least 2 or 3 guys from phase, so that'll be a minimum 2 guys from ants, at least. And games that have those situations that have 2 from ants, I'm going to have 3 guys from phase. I already know I'm going to have Monacy. Actually, I'm going to have Monacy in every line. So I'm going to have him in the 6 captains and the 4 flexes. So if I'm going to do that, I'm probably going to have Frozen in the flex and all the Monacy captain lineups because he'll be the captain in all the other ones. And I'm just going to have to see later what builds I end up with, which I won't post. Well, I guess I can post the builds if it's like if I'm a majority doing like a 3-3-3-2 and stuff like that. I'll post my exposures later in Discord when I get that done, because this does lock in the morning. So like maybe you wake up in the morning and see them or whatever. I'm gonna go ahead and do that now, but this is probably where I'm at. So Monacy and Frozen are the 2 captains I want to use, and I'm not playing Falcons to what could potentially be a mistake, but I think I just think Int wins 2-0, so I'd rather just chase that. And yeah, that's really all I have. I've been here for 40 minutes, and yeah, it's just a difficult slate. It's an interesting, difficult slate. So that's really all I got. So yeah, I think that's all I got. So thank you guys for being here. If you have any more questions or whatever, feel free to drop them in the Discord or just talk or whatever in the esports channel. I'll be up for a while trying to figure out where I want to build with stuff. But past that, thank you guys for watching. Hope this helps you out. Maybe you at least know more about the slate than you did when we started. And consider joining TrueDFS to support me and support everybody else who makes great content here. And I will see you guys later. So bye-bye. I'll see ya.